What were kitchens like before modern technology? Imagine stepping back in time before electricity, running water, and gas lines. How did people do it? Hi everyone, Ken here. Today we're tracking the evolution of the American kitchen through the decades. Hit that like button to let me know you enjoy videos like this, and without further ado, let's dish up the past on a special episode of This House. Imagine you're living in the late 1700s. The sun hasn't even risen when you shuffle into the kitchen, if you can even call it that. In an average home, this kitchen is usually just a corner of a large multi-purpose room, or if you're wealthier, a separate outbuilding to keep the smoke and heat at bay. At its heart is the open hearth, a cavernous fireplace where all cooking, heating, and baking happens. The smell of wood smoke permeates everything, and you can feel the heat radiating from the glowing coals. Iron pots dangle over the flames, and sometimes you'll wrestle a heavy kettle onto an iron trivet set right in the embers, trying not to scorch your hands. There are no handy knobs or precise thermometers, just a cook's best guess about the fire's intensity. If you want water, you haul it in a bucket from the nearest well or stream. Your sink is really just a basin propped on a table, where you pour water to scrub dishes and then throw the dirty water outdoors. Kitchen chores involve a good bit of muscle, lugging wood, stirring pots, and endlessly washing clothes or dishes with homemade soaps. Storing fresh food is equally tricky. You might keep meat in a smokehouse, brine it in barrels, or rely on a root cellar to preserve vegetables. Some wealthier folks can afford to carve ice from ponds in winter and store it in an icehouse for summer, but that's far from universal. Above all, the hearth stands at the center of everything. It makes the kitchen the warmest and liveliest part of the house, a place where the family gathers to stay warm, where gossip is exchanged, and where ironically, a spark could burn the entire structure down. As the 1800s unfold, changes seep into the American kitchen. The old open hearth method gives way to an intriguing contraption, the cast iron stove. At first, it may look like a bulky iron box stuck in front of the original fireplace. It uses the same chimney to vent smoke, but is more contained and efficient, concentrating heat in a firebox underneath a metal cooktop. Suddenly, you're no longer crouching to poke coals or balancing pots on logs. Instead, you're lifting circular iron lids or burners of a sort to place your pot directly above the flames. Temperature is still a guesswork, but you can shuffle pots around the stove's surface to find hotter or cooler spots, and the built-in oven is a revelation that allows consistent bread baking in any season. Cooks quickly discover the stove's quirks. It can run too hot or too cold depending on the day. Wood and coal still have to be shoveled in, and soot remains a daily nuisance. Nevertheless, cast iron stoves revolutionize kitchen life, especially for middle-class families who can afford them. Meanwhile, water remains mostly a bucket affair. A few wealthier urban homes install a basic pump at the kitchen sink, though the wastewater just drains into a bucket or out onto the lawn. Lighting is still candles or oil lamps, and at night you often rely on the flicker of the hearth. Food storage is improving in some cities where the ice trade blossoms. Blocks of frozen lake water might get harvested in northern regions and shipped to towns. Ice boxes, wooden cabinets lined with tin or zinc, become a small luxury for those who can pay the iceman's fee and keep the melting water emptied. On farms and in rural areas, though, folks rely on the same time-honored methods: salting, smoking, pickling, and canning, especially after John Mason invents the mason jar in 1858. Indeed, by the mid-1800s, canning becomes a staple of household routines, with shelves lined with preserved fruits, vegetables, and jams, ensuring families can survive harsh winters. Kitchens of the early 19th century are often tucked away. In wealthier homes, the cooking area might reside in a basement, service wing, or in a separate building staffed by servants who labor from dawn to nightfall, with huge pots of stew simmering and bread baking daily. Wives in average American households typically handle these chores themselves, or if they're lucky, with the help of their daughters, because cooking in this era is a physically demanding dance. You chop wood, fetch water, knead dough, stir pots, and then wrestle with the cast iron stove's flue to keep the heat just right. And somehow in between it all, you sweep, scrub laundry by hand, and do dishes while maybe taking care of a baby or two. This juggling act also creates a sense of community and routine. Children learn early how to churn butter or snap peas, and the sweet smell of fresh bread can make the hardest work feel worth it. By the turn of the century, you see some dramatic breakthroughs, running water and gas lines in many urban areas, plus the earliest electrical grids. Suddenly, the kitchen can be lit by an electric bulb instead of a smoky oil lamp, and cooking might be fueled by gas, or less commonly at first, by electricity. Big cities develop municipal water systems, so you might have water flowing from a faucet into a proper sink that drains out through actual pipes, a miraculous convenience for anyone used to hauling buckets in and out. In larger homes, the cast iron stove can be retrofitted to burn gas. No more fiddling with wood or coal deliveries if your house is tied to the city's gas supply. Around the same time, a new machine appears that will eventually topple the icebox, the electric refrigerator. Early models cost a fortune, more than a typical car, and they're loud, bulky contraptions, but they keep fresh food cold without the daily hassle of ice delivery. Initially, only the wealthy can afford them. The rest of the population soldiers on with iceboxes, the Iceman's visits, and carefully emptied drip pans. Nonetheless, as compressor technology improves and mass production lowers cost, more families can buy refrigerators. By the late 1920s and 1930s, a well-equipped kitchen might have that electric fridge humming away in the corner, an unheard of luxury just a few decades earlier. But it's not just about appliances. This era sees a shift in layout and design philosophy. Inspired by efficiency experts and home economists like Catherine Beaker, kitchens begin to adopt more convenient workspaces. Built-in cabinets line the walls instead of random side tables and cupboards. Porcelain enamel sinks become standard, so it's easy to keep dishwashing under control. The work triangle emerges. Place your stove, sink, and fridge or icebox in a triangle so you're not walking from one end of the room to the other for every pot or utensil. Magazine articles declare the kitchen of the future will be a laboratory for domestic science full of carefully labeled containers and time-saving devices. Dishwashers and laundry machines have been invented, but they're still rare and prohibitively expensive curiosities, so scrubbing by hand remains the reality for most. By the late 1930s and into the 40s, you see color creeping into kitchens as well. Cheerful pastels, bright linoleum floors, painted cabinets in mint green or sunshine yellow. Even with the Great Depression limiting some household budgets, the notion of a brighter, neater, more pleasant kitchen takes hold. Post-World War II, however, the dream absolutely explodes. America experiences an economic boom, suburban development skyrockets, and the kitchen becomes a powerful symbol of modern life. Builders showcase brand new housing developments with fully equipped kitchens, gleaming gas or electric ranges, big freestanding refrigerators, smooth countertops in cheerful hues, and a host of small appliances like stand mixers or waffle irons that previous generations never could have imagined. In the 1950s, the family kitchen transforms into the showpiece of the home. No longer is it tucked away for servants or seen as a hot and smelly workspace. Instead, it is right off the dining area, with laminate counters trimmed in chrome, steel or wood cabinets painted in pastel pink, aqua, or sunny yellow, and an electric range that might sport fancy dials or a time bake feature. TV commercials and magazines tout the glory of dishwashers, though only a small percentage of homes actually have one. They also advertise mixers and newfangled portable vacuum cleaners. More of the process has become streamlined, actually allowing for breaks in the day. Though life in the 1950s is more complicated than these ads suggest, the imagery is powerful, the modern kitchen is clean, bright, and central to family and entertaining. As the 1960s roll around, the futuristic vibe kicks in. Some new kitchens have sleek, flat-front cabinets, and if you live in a city with a strong gas infrastructure, you may have a gas cooktop built directly into the counter. Others prefer the electric ranges that are becoming more sophisticated and reliable. Oven designs integrate thermostatic controls, making it easier to set and trust a temperature. Microwaves appear in the late 60s, though at first they're pricey and sometimes fear-inducing. People wonder, is it safe to stand near it? But that doesn't stop them from being fascinated by the promise of lightning-speed cooking. The culture shifts too. More women start working outside the home, spurring a demand for convenience. Ready-to-eat packaged foods fill refrigerators, and time-saving gadgets gain traction. By the early 1970s, the crock-pot is a godsend for a busy household. You toss in the ingredients before work, and by dinner time, there's a pot roast waiting, piping hot with minimal fuss. Over in the decor department, the 1970s brings a wave of bold color schemes: avocado green, harvest gold, burnt orange, and appliances that mix interestingly with floral print wallpaper. Some folks love it, others cringe. Regardless, these bright kitchens reflect the era's sense of individuality and experimentation. Around the same time, the layout of kitchens undergoes a major change. Walls between the kitchen and living or dining areas start to come down. People crave more social interaction while cooking. Instead of hiding the cook, homes begin to feature an open floor plan where the line between the kitchen, family room, and dining room is blurred. Islands become the centerpiece, letting friends gather around for casual meals or enabling kids to do homework while a parent cooks. By the 1980s, this open concept layout is standard in new suburban developments. Kitchens also grow larger, often because they now combine cooking, informal dining, and a space to hang out. Dishwashers, once a luxury, spread rapidly. By the 1980s and 90s, many homes have a built-in dishwasher, not just a portable one. Microwave ovens have shrunk in size and price, so that by the late 80s they are everywhere. A key hallmark of the 90s is customization. You might see country-style white cabinets and gingham curtains in one's home, or a sleek, all-black ensemble of appliances and granite countertops in another. The rise of big chain home improvement stores also puts design choices in the hands of everyday people, so personal style blossoms. Meanwhile, technology keeps advancing. Refrigerators might have built-in ice makers, water dispensers, and separate freezer compartments. Cabinets and countertops are packed with Tupperware and small appliances like food processors, blenders, and toasters to name a few. As we cross into the 21st century, kitchens keep getting bigger and more impressive. In many new houses, the kitchen is a multifunctional open space that flows seamlessly into the living area. Giant islands, or even two islands, offer ample counter space plus bar stools so everyone can chat. Designer cabinets, granite or quartz countertops, stainless steel appliances, these become status markers. Another trend emerges simultaneously, a nod to farmhouse style. People install apron sinks, butcher block countertops, and reclaimed wood floors for a vintage look, pairing them with high-tech appliances for convenience. The combination is part nostalgia, part modern efficiency. Throughout the 2000s and 2010s, technology infiltrates every corner of the kitchen. It's suddenly normal to ask a voice assistant to convert ounces to cups or set a timer. The expensive refrigerators have touchscreen displays showing your grocery list, weather updates, even photos from your phone. Ovens and slow cookers can be controlled via smartphone apps, and energy efficiency and sustainability also grow in importance. Many households adopt LED under-cabinet lighting, advanced ventilation hoods, and more efficient appliances. Composting bins and recycling stations become standard in eco-conscious households first, and then spread somewhat to the average household, harkening back to older times when families composted scraps for the garden, except now there's a modern twist. Meanwhile, cooking methods continue to evolve. Multi-cookers like the Instapot can replace a slow cooker, a pressure cooker, a rice cooker, and more, freeing up even more time. Air fryers appeal to the health-conscious families who still crave the taste of fried foods, and some adventurous cooks dabble in sous vide, a technique once limited to high-end restaurants. Robotic vacuums roam the kitchen floor, nibbling at crumbs, and the main impetus behind all these gadgets? Busy families wanting to minimize housework so they can spend more time on other parts of life, even as they still crave a warm, home-cooked meal. Strikingly, despite all this innovation, the function of the kitchen as a social hub remains constant. People gather in the kitchen to talk, sample dishes, or help with food prep, even if help is more about taste testing or just having a drink with your significant other. During holiday parties, you might see a half-dozen relatives jammed around the island, kids underfoot, and the volume of laughter and conversation rising above the sizzling pans. The idea of entertaining guests now often happens around the stove or countertop rather than in a formal dining room, and if you step outside to the patio, you might find an outdoor kitchen with a built-in grill, fridge, and counter, an extension of that indoor space, perfect for summertime barbecues. With all that in mind, where do we go from here? Glimpse into the future, and you might see AI-driven recipe assistants that suggest meals based on your health and fitness tracking apps. Some city dwellers hardly cook at all if they rely on meal delivery or takeout, so architects may design smaller kitchenette setups in urban condos. Others will embrace the artisan side of cooking, installing wood-fired pizza ovens or going back to a more rustic style for the flavor and ambiance. We may also see kitchens designed to be greener, water recycling sinks, hydroponic walls to grow fresh herbs, and fridges that suggest recipes based on ingredients that are expiring soon. Yet for all the upcoming innovation, it's hard to imagine the kitchen losing its status as the heart of the home. Since the colonial days of tolling over an open hearth, the kitchen has been a place of nourishment, both physical and emotional. It's where families bond, whether they're stirring stew, discussing the day's events, or sneaking a midnight snack. It's where holiday memories form around the smell of roast turkey or fresh-baked cookies. The specifics will continue to shift, but one thing won't change. In American homes, the kitchen remains the beating heart, the bright gathering spot, and the keeper of tradition no matter how futuristic it becomes. And with that, I'll turn it over to you. If you enjoyed this video, leave a like and make sure you're subscribed so you never miss an educational episode of This House.